I want to start by sharing an interesting study by the BBC. It actually featured a formula done by the Global Footprint Network back in 2015 when the world had 7 billion people. So you can imagine the numbers must have changed a little bit. But back in 2015, if everyone on the planet, they said, lived like the average American or consumed as an average American, we would be needing 4 Earths to sustain them. Even higher on top of the heap is if we each lived like the average Kuwaiti, we would be needing 5.1 Earths to be sustained by this planet. The Brits actually have a lower ecological footprint. We'd be needing 2.4 Earths. As it stands today, on average, considering all nationalities, humanity is already using nature 1.8 times faster than our planet's biocapacity can generate. Let that sink in. Humanity is already using nature 1.8 times faster than the planet's capacity to generate. So if we don't act now, you can imagine there might not be much left for the next generations. So this forum hopes to raise questions on sustainable practices and how we can all shape a more responsible business landscape. We hope to inspire, we hope to empower SMEs, entrepreneurs, you to integrate sustainability into your core operations, seize opportunities, and contribute to positive change. Today, we are joined by an esteemed panel of speakers who will walk us through this journey towards a sustainable future. But first, let us all welcome to the stage Mr. Ismael Reyes, RCBC's Head of Marketing and Strategy segment, for a few words.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Greetings to all our valued clients. On behalf of the RCBC team, I extend our warmest welcome to each and every one of you. We are truly grateful for your presence here today as we gather to celebrate our partnership and success we have achieved together. Now, you must be wondering what RCBC Business Series is all about. Business Series' goal is to offer you, our most valued clients, a knowledge platform by giving you first-hand access to webinars, talks, and events that can help with the unusual pain points of owning, creating, building, and scaling up businesses. For today's business series, we have chosen the topic, Redefining Business Through Sustainable Practices. Our world is facing various challenges, and as citizens, it is important to consider the impact our actions have on the environment and the economy. However, by working together and making conscious choices, this will allow us to create a better future for ourselves and our future generations. In today's forum, we'll be giving you an outlook of today's economic and investment markets, followed by understanding sustainability and sustainability through the lens of a business owner. We have invited 3 esteemed guest speakers who will walk you through these topics. Together with me here today is our team of top-notch bankers. I hope you will also take this opportunity to let us know how we can create a better experience with you through our products and services. We hope that today's event will be a memorable experience that honors your loyalty to RCBC. Thank you for your continued trust and support, and we look forward to further strengthening our relationship in the years to come. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Sir Mael. Now, as a curtain raiser, let's now get the outlook for the Philippine economy from no less than RCBC's chief economist, Mr. Michael Ricafort. For those who don't know him, he's a mainstay at various news organizations, and he is known for hitting the target very, very close, very precise. In fact, Mr. Ricafort was ranked by the Department of Finance as the most accurate in predicting the GDP for 3 years running. Ladies and gentlemen, the man with a crystal ball, Mr. Mike Ricafort. Sir Mike, so you're very good at predicting the GDP. So what's the number for 2023? At least 6%. All right.
So much, Mimi, for the generous introduction, and a pleasant afternoon to everyone, our clients, guests, and colleagues at RCBC and YGC. So we'll be presenting the economic outlook. Of course, it's very interesting times, no? So everybody's waiting about the effects of the risk of, talking about the risk of default in the US. So yeah, for the past 12 years, we have seen the kind of deadlock between Republicans and Democrats. It's been recurring. So we won't be surprised if the US runs out of cash, estimate early June by US Treasury Secretary Yellen. And we have seen in the past possible lockdown by the government because they don't have money to pay for government employees and to pay for basic services. That has happened in the past already. So given that track record, we won't be that surprised anymore. Maybe they'll do something at the last minute. No? Okay, let's now go to the forecast. At least 6% growth, as I mentioned to Mimi. That's one of the highest. In fact, even last year, that's one of the highest. That growth, that 7.6 and even the 6.4 in the first quarter. Among the fastest in the region, the estimated growth of at least 6% due to favorable demographics. That's different for the Philippines because we have reached demographic sweet spot since 2015, or majority of our population already working age. Imagine, that's more than 50 million Filipinos already working. So that's why there would be more Filipinos, they have incomes, and of course, they would start families, they would spend, they would purchase homes, they would purchase vehicles, they would send their children to school, they would also buy investment products, do banking, and so on and so forth. So that's the sheer economic power in the Philippines. More than 110 million Filipinos, that's the 12th largest in the world, and average age of below 25, one of the youngest in the region. So our population is very productive. And we're the last major economy to reach that stage, that demographic sweet spot. For the next 10 years or so, expect an average growth of at least 6 to 7%. We have seen that from 2012 to 2019 due to favorable demographics. And the dollar peso, a lot of questions on the exchange rate. So the BSP has already, based on the signals, when it was doing at 54 levels in January, the BSP Governor Medalla has been saying we don't want the peso to appreciate so much. So that's a very strong signal to us, especially the importers, those who buy dollars. So they have effectively set the floor at the lowest was 53.63. So anything close to 55, that's a good. Of course, we have to be prudent. We don't want to stoke unnecessary speculation. That's an attractive level to buy, close to 55. That's where the BSP would like to stabilize it. In as much as they don't want the peso to weaken so much, because the number one mandate of the government, of the economic team, of the administration is to bring down inflation. And that entails the stabilization of the peso. Because the peso has already depreciated from 51 since last year, since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. Now it's doing at almost 56. So that's 5 pesos. That's almost 10% depreciation. So what's the peak of inflation? It was 8.7%. It's pretty close to that. It's very much correlated to that. So managing inflation, bringing down inflation would entail stabilizing the peso. The BSP has a good track record of keeping the ceiling at 56.40 for the past 18 years, from 2004 to September 1 of last year. Fine. They allowed it to go up to new record highs to 58, 59 in late September to early October. But it's a directive of the President to stabilize it and not allow it to weaken any further because it would jeopardize the efforts to bring down inflation. So 56.40, that's the magic number. That's a very important resistance. The major resistance is 56.95. If that is breached, it could potentially retest the 58 and the record high of 59. So they won't allow it there. They have all the tools for the past 18 years at their disposal. The latest of which is the enhanced CRPP, meaning clients can already do non-deliverable forwards with the banks. It expanded beyond non-trade. The non-trade transactions, it used to be trade transactions. So there's no unnecessary pressure on the spot market. Para lang sila nagpustahan, no? Magsusuklian lang sila, non-deliverable forwards. So yung kagandahan nun, may hedging facilities na. So marami pang ibang tools. So they would do everything at their disposal to protect the peso. So mahihirapan lumipad yung exchange rate sa 56.40 hanggang 56.95. Hindi yan paprotektahan yun. Kasi inflationary yun. Hindi maganda. So ang leeway lang natin, 55 to 56. So pag malapit-lapit sa 55, ngayon, yung support 55.50, 55.60, pwede na mag-hedge yung importer doon. Tapos yung langis ngayon, di ba, medyo mababa. So tatimingan din yun ng mga importer, di ba, for them to buy. No? Kasi net importing country tayo. 58 billion ang trade deficit natin last year. That's a record high. And our trade deficit, nag-average yan ng $5 billion per month. So multiply by 12, nandun papunta pa rin doon sa 60 billion. Ang lakas natin mag-import. Samantalang 10 to 20 years ago, wala man, nasa 2 to 3 billion dollars lang ang trade deficit ng Pilipinas. Kasi bakit ang lakas natin mag-import? That's a good sign. Umunlad yung ekonomiya. Malakas tayong mamili ng mga sasakyan. Puro imported na yon. Kasi mas mura. Ultimo bigas. Bago mag-pandemya, ang mura ng bigas na imported. Asukal. Less than half. Halos wala pang kalahati. Kaya hindi natin masisi yung mga negosyo, yung mga industriya, yung mga tao na nag-import sila dahil sa mga free trade agreements. Since 2010, ASEAN, China, zero tariff, yung import tariff, pamasahe na lang, transport cost na lang yung pag-uusapan. Yung naiwan na lang siguro sa bigas, 35% tariff, kaya may rice tariffication law since 2019, sa asukal, 5%. So kaya ang lakas natin mag-import. Kaya ano rin yun eh. Going forward, siguro yung kailangan ayusin, kasama rin sa sustainability yun. Dapat pati yung productivity ng agriculture i-boost. Increase mechanization. Kasi you have to harness technology already for sustainability. Para yung production mo per hectare, marami. Mag-mechanize ka. Marami pa kasing hindi mechanized. The use of the best technologies around, from Israel, from Taiwan, no? Yung mga, yun, na-acknowledge naman lahat yun. Tapos syempre, yung higher yielding varieties na resilient to weather and other constraints, production, yung mga storage facilities, infrastructure like farm-to-market roads, and so on and so forth. Kasi agriculture employs nearly a quarter of working Filipinos. 25% ang ini-employ ng agriculture. Ano yung ambag nila? Mga 9% lang. So may mismatch. Ang industry, ang ambag nila, close to 30%. O, ganun din naman yung employed ng industry sector, mga 20%. So kailangan din ano yun, para hindi tayo masanay na import ng import. Alam naman ng economic team yan. So kaya yung forecast natin, naka-hinge lahat din doon. No? Ayun yung areas for improvement, the use of technology for sustainability. Inflation, pababa na naman. Ngayon, 6.6% yung huling data, that's the lowest in 8 months. Yung nag-peak na yan ng 8.7%. Kasi yung presyo ng langis, nag-peak na sa $130 no March 7 of last year. Ngayon, ang langis nasa $72, $73 na lang. Halos kalahati na lang. Nagsimula yung gera, yung langis nasa 92. Kaya nga, yung sustainability, imbis na import tayo ng langis, kailangan mas marami na solar, wind. Pinipace out na yung coal no? Sa sustainability. So, hindi tayo mag-i-import ng langis na. Actually, matagal lang na-acknowledge yun. No? For the past 10, 20 or so years, bumaba na yung cost ng renewable power significantly. So, tapos, syempre, yung mga global investors, they already require ESG standards. Mga global funds, pension funds, retirement funds, sovereign wealth funds, yung lahat ng mga professional fund managers around the world, ini-encourage sila na mag-invest sa mga companies, sa mga issuers na nagko-comply sa ESG standards. So, yun ang hint din sa atin lahat. Nag-prosper naman yung ibang investments na nagko-comply sa ESG standards. ESG, hindi lang sa environment yun, that's holistic. Environment, society, governance. Kasama rin din yung human rights, lahat na. Lahat na. Ganon, it's holistic. Now, so pababa na yung inflation, year on year, pababa yan to 3%. Ang average siguro this year, mga 5.5%. No? Next year, mga 3% or even less than 3%. Bababa yung interest rates, hopefully. Ang constraint lang sa interest rates, kasi yung interest differentials, yung sinasabi ni Governor. Kasi yung policy rate natin, nasa 6.25 ngayon. That's the highest in nearly 14 years. Fed funds rate, nasa 5.25 yung upper range. So 1 percentage point na lang yung difference. Napakanipis nun. Hindi pwede tayo mauna sa pag-cut ng rates. Pababa na sana yung interest rates kasi pababa yung inflation. Constrained lang tayo dahil sa interest differentials. Hindi pwede kasi hihina yung piso. Kasi mag-invest lang yung mga tao sa dollar kung walang masyadong difference. Dapat may premium palagi sa piso. Ganon din sa dollar bonds. Yung 5, 7, 10-year bonds natin, dapat may yung historical differential niyan, yung premium over comparable US Treasuries, nasa 200 basis points. Manipis na nga yun. So hindi tayo, 10-year Treasury ngayon, 3.7, halos 3.75. Dagdag ka ng nasa tayo ngayon, 5.9. So mga 200 basis points, hindi yan basta-basta bababa dahil kahit alam naman natin, yung fair value niyan, pag bumaba yung inflation, magdagdag ka ng, inflation bumaba to 3 to 4%. Yung bond yields, pati yung policy rate, nasa 4, 5% lang dapat. Pero hindi pa yan bababa dahil nga, because of the differential with the US, medyo naiwan pa sa taas yung interest rates ng Amerika. Lalo na ngayon, mayroon kasi yung debt ceiling, no? Nagde-demand tuloy ng premium yung market, lalo na yung short-term fund, yung short-term debt yield sa US, na nagde-demand sila ng premium kasi nga may risk of default. Tignan natin yan, kung lumipas na yan, kung maayos nila yan, hopefully, things get better. Focus tayo uli sa inflation. So, gaganda yung natin, markets natin, pati yung economy. No? So, ayun, yun yung view natin. Mamaya, if you have questions, please feel free to raise them. No? So, yan, we're one of the fastest growing economies, at least 6% dahil nga sa sinabi ko kanina. No? Maswerte yung Pilipinas. Kasi, number 4 tayo sa remittances, more than $40 billion. Sa BPO, number 2 tayo in the world after India. More than $35 billion and still growing. In 6 years' time, yung Industry Association, ang target, $50 billion. 2.5 million Filipinos employed sa BPO. Ngayon, nasa 1.7 million. So, 800,000. Yun. Ayun yung number 1 tayo sa call center. Look at the biggest banks in the world. Nandito sila nag-outsource. So, nandoon yung natin, competitive edge natin nasa higher end ng supply chain. No? As alternative to developed countries. Lalo na ngayon, nagtitipid yung mga global companies. Counterintuitive kung kailan may crisis, doon nag-accelerate yung BPO. Pansinin nyo, no, subprime crisis, doon lalong nag-outsource yung global companies to remain competitive. So that's part of the realities. Noong pandemic, ganun din. Na-hiring pa rin ng BPO. So, siguro, yan, itong slides, which we can share with you, no? One of the fastest growing economies. Yan, tignan nyo, the charts would show, no? Yung Pilipinas. Kaya yung credit rating natin, at least yung Fitch, yung outlook, binalik na sa stable from negative. Negative yan since July of 2021. Since normal na yung ekonomiya Di ba? Ayun yung priority ng administration. Yung huling elements, at least face-to-face schooling na. Since August 22, after more than 2 years, yung tourism, balik na sa normal. So binuksan yung economy, that was the priority. Yun din yung going forward, ayun yung policy priority. Wala nang lockdowns. Kasi, yun, dahil nga devastating yung sa economy. So, yan. Tignan nyo, yung Although nagno-normalize na kasi yung base effect. Kasi wala na tayong lockdown last year. So, yung year-on-year growth, bumabalik na sa 6. Last year kasi 8 dahil mababa yung base. May lockdowns pa noong 2021. Ayun na yung huling beses na nagka-lockdowns. So, ito yung summary sa economy natin. No? Basta measures to reopen the economy, that's number 1. Normal na. Yung group tours from China allowed na since January of this year. So, normal yung tourism. Malaki yung potential ng tourism on top do sa agriculture and manufacturing. Kasi we have yet to catch up with the rest of the region. Paramihan ng turista. Kaya kailangan i-address din yung capacity. Kaya ba ng airport natin? Kaya ba ng accommodation, ng infrastructure? Tulad ng relative to the other ASEAN countries. Tapos, bukas na yung missing elements. At least yung nakabalik na sa eskwela yung mga tao, yung mga estudyante, and everything else. Symbolical nun, yung wearing of mask, optional na since late October. Yun. Increase infrastructure spending, nandun din. 5 to 6% of the economy. Samantalang 10 to 20 years ago, 2% of GDP lang infrastructure. Malaking bagay din yan. No pandemic, isa rin sa naging bright spot ng economy natin yan. Yung create law, yan, after more than 20 years, napasa na rin yan. Mababa na yung taxes. 25% for the biggest companies from 30%. Retroactive yan nung pandemic. No? Yung iba pang reform measures, no? Yung challenge lang, at least yung inflation na baba na, yung interest rates medyo elevated. Nagtatrabaho pa kasi yung mga central banks eh. Iiwan muna nila sa taas yung policy rates. No? Kaya may debate pa ngayon sa US among the Fed officials. No? Para siguraduhin nila na talagang sinadya kasi unintended consequence to slow down the economy. Kaya may risk of recession. Biriin nyo, from 0 yung interest rates natin, record low, sa US, no? 0. Ngayon, binalik na sa 5.25. So medyo babagal talaga economy. Sinadya talaga nila yon para pabagalin yung inflation kasi yun yung number 1 mandate ng central banks, price stability. Kasama na rin yung financial stability dahil may problema ngayon sa ibang regional banks sa US. So, pero ayaw nila kasi mag-spiral yung inflation. Learning from the lessons on late 70s, early 80s, may mga gera din noon, Iranian Revolution, Iran-Iraq War, mataas yung presyo ng langis. So, kaya nagtatrabaho pa sila. Kaya may iwan talaga sa taas yung short-term interest rates, pero kumikita na yung long-term interest rates. Bumababa na yung 10-year from 7.72, 5.9 na lang ngayon. So bumaba na yung funding costs. Pero yung short-term interest rates, naiwan pa sa taas. Kaya yung funding, mga time deposits, naiwan pa sa taas. Kasi nagtatrabaho pa yung mga central banks. So with that, I'll be sharing all the materials and please feel free to ask and approach me if you have questions later on. So thank you so much and have a productive day ahead. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Sir Mike. I'm supposed to summarize everything he said. Let me try. GDP, it's Econ 101. It's GDP equals personal consumption plus government spending plus investments plus parenthesis, exports minus imports. Everything Sir Mike touched on. Personal consumption will remain strong. We're in a demographic sweet spot. And inflation is easing, so we can spend more. Government spending is hopefully picking up. Investments, so if we have more companies that are sustainable, meeting ESG standards, more global companies are willing to put money here. And exports minus imports, good news is the peso will be protected. That's the commitment of the Bangko Sentral, 55 to 56. All right, thank you very much, Sir Mike. And here to help us understand sustainability and to walk us through some easy ways to go green, to make a difference, is Mr. Roberto Bascon. So let me give you his short profile. We call him RB. He is a director of ICD's Research and Development. He is currently an independent director of Temple Tech Finance Corporation and is a member of Good Governance Advocates and Practitioners of the Philippines. He was part of the technical experts who developed the ASEAN Corporate Governance Scorecard and has worked with our oversight agencies in the development of codes of corporate governance and corporate governance scorecards. He served as the co-chairman of the Ease of Doing Business, Protecting Minority Investors Task Force under the Anti-Red Tape Authority back in 2019. He is a certified trainer for the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI Standards course, a certified graduate of Palladium Kaplan Norton Strategy Execution Premium. He also has a certificate in Business Sustainability Management from the University of Cambridge, Institute of Sustainability Leadership, and just recently he received his climate designation from competent boards in Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Roberto R.B. Bascon.
Good afternoon. Salamat po. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for having ICD here. Salamat po. Think globally, act locally. Okay? So again, let me repeat, think globally, act locally. I think this is one of the most famous taglines in sustainability. It impresses on us that, well, first and foremost, our actions will have effect in the world. In the same way, we should be aware of what's happening in the world so that we can react accordingly and we can adapt accordingly. Okay, so, and perhaps that is one thinking that we should be adapting also in our businesses. Okay, so for this short time, I'll be sharing with you, governance and sustainability, and sustainability in the business context, and some ways to adopt sustainability in our respective businesses. In the Institute of Corporate Directors, we say that the board is the top governing body and is ultimately in charge of governing and directing the organization. Okay? And we teach that there are 4 major roles of the board, and that is a strategy, by setting direction, the policy function by shaping the behavior of the corporation or the organization, the monitoring function, just to ensure that the management is doing what it is supposed to do, and the accountability function, and that is so that the organization is relating to its stakeholders. Very important that we understand this function, because sustainability is a responsibility not only of the management but ultimately in an organization or in a corporation by the board. And you can see here in the left side of the screen or the slide the elements that we need para so that we can embed or integrate sustainability in our processes. Okay, kumbaga, we should make it as part of our corporate DNA, right? First and foremost, we have to have the philosophy or sustainability strategy, and then we have to plan on how to execute that. Okay, and then develop projects, or initiatives, so that we will achieve our goals. And at the bottom, all right, na hindi nyo nakikita, is sustainable business practices. Okay, meaning dapat yung sustainability is part of our daily lives, part of our daily operations. On the right side of the slide, you'll see who's responsible for what, what level. So now, in the context of the small and medium enterprises, one level of that organization may have to work on 1 or 2 of these functions. Okay? Why should we, even where SMEs, sabi nga kanina, it doesn't matter how big you are. Doesn't matter your size doesn't matter. Okay, we will have to consider now sustainability. Okay, scientists say that as of last Monday, we need an equivalent of 1.84 planet Earths to provide our needs, the resources that we need, and to absorb our wastes. Okay? And they say that if we continue at this rate, by 2030, we will be needing an equivalent of 2 planet Earths. The question, my friends, is where are we going to get the other planet? Right? If we don't do anything, maubusan po tayo ng resources, okay? And the planet will, give up on us. But is there a business case? According to Bob Wheeler, the sustainability guru, in his hundreds of research, and taking a look at hundreds of companies, they say that SMEs, by simply adopting the sustainable practices that big organizations are doing, they can increase their profit by as much as 51%. There is a business case for sustainability. Besides the fact that we really have to do it now, and Philippines being one of the most vulnerable country to calamities brought about by climate change. So we should be aware. Okay, so how are we going to do it? Okay, is there really opportunity, in adopting or in adopting sustainability? Well, first, as we see, as we adopt sustainability, and right now, even our government is or has initiatives to contribute to the sustainable development. We can see the growth of new goods and services. Okay, we're talking about renewable energy. There's a demand now for solar panels. I'm sure sa inyong mga bahay, yung inyong mga posts diyan, yung mga lamps ninyo, solar powered na, Okay? And then there's frugal innovation, looking for ways on how to improve our production, okay, with less resources. More on that, Adapting sustainability will improve our resilience and improve our bottom line. Okay? So what should we do? First, we should align our organization. Okay? No matter how big you are or how small you are, the first thing to do is to decide. Okay? You as business owners will have to decide that you will adopt sustainable business practices. That's the first thing. Okay? You have to change your mindset. Okay? And then for bigger companies, that means revising or revisiting or integrating sustainability in their corporate strategies. Okay? For small and business enterprises, the proposed process is first to understand your own context. Iba-iba po tayo ng context. It depends on where our businesses are. It depends on the size of our businesses and the stakeholders that we have. Okay? After that, we should identify. Let's identify ano po ba yung mga topics that or impacts, our actual and potential impacts. All right? And then, after identifying them, we should now plan on how to address them. And first and foremost, we should prioritize them. Okay? After doing so, then let's set targets. Okay? Now we have decided to adopt sustainable business practices. Next thing that we have to do, let's set targets. Ano bang gagawin natin in our businesses to adopt that? All right? Once we have set target, we have something to work on. Now we should develop initiatives to achieve the targets. And that is where embedding sustainability in our day-to-day operations come in. Okay? These are the simple ways to adapt. There are many approaches. One of the most famous one is the circular economy. Okay, and this is regenerative and restorative by design. Okay, most value chains are linear, meaning from raw materials, we process it, and then we sell it. After the customers consume it, what will happen? Okay, waste na lang siya. Okay, we throw it away. In a circular economy, we design our value chain, intentionally so that our finished products after consumption of the consumers will still have value. So, for example, panels, electric panels, after consumption, those panels can be recycled. In the same way, plastic pallets, after consumption, after using of the consumer, can be recycled. All right. In other words, there is what we call sustainable production and consumption. So in a coffee business, okay, by design, we already decide on what we're going to do with the coffee beans, after brewing. Okay, what are we going to do with the cups that our consumers use? Okay, things like that. Those are the simple ways. Okay. In sustainable production is creation of goods and services by using processes that are non-polluting, economically viable, conserves energy and natural resources. So we may adapt this. If we cannot go circular economy, okay, let's think of how we can adapt sustainable production in our processes. Examples, okay, energy efficient appliances, LED bulbs, okay, waste management, okay. We can choose suppliers that adheres to sustainable development. Okay, that is part of the process, right? We can conserve water, okay, by choosing or installing low flow faucets, and promoting water consciousness to our employees. Those are the things. Okay, and then flexible work arrangement, especially accelerated by the pandemic, diba? I mean, I myself is benefiting from this, telecommuting and remote work, right? That decreases carbon emission, okay? And then meron pang employee satisfaction. Okay? I wouldn't have to travel 1 hour to get to the office. 1 hour, ang dami ko nang nagawa nun, right? Okay, what else? You can choose eco-friendly packaging. Okay? Not only that these packaging is recyclable, but it's also sourced from sustainable materials. All right, and then adapt, or use renewable sources of energies like solar panels. Okay, hindi naman pwede tayo magtalagay ng basta-basta ng windmills, right? Okay, so and then last, we should engage and advocate. Once we have embedded it, we should reach out to the community. Kasi we can't do this alone. We have to work in a system with the government. Okay? The bigger companies will report on it, using different internationally recognized sustainability framework. But you as SMEs can choose the medium, that you want to use to communicate with your shareholders. It can be FGD, in-person meetings, it can be town halls, it can be social media, all right? And to your employees, they're very much welcome in working with companies that support sustainable practices. Okay, not only our employees, we should consider and influence the consumers for sustainable consumption. You know that 86% of Filipino consumers are willing to pay extra for sustainable products. The most recent survey that I saw, around 74-75% prefer sustainable products and services. Okay, so all these things, I hope that encourages each and every one of us to really and seriously consider adopting sustainable practices, because it's not only good for the world, it's not only good for the economy, not only good for the country, but it's also good for us. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Sir RB. Again, think globally, act locally. In short, GLOCAL. All right, from adopting eco-friendly practices and optimizing resource efficiency, let's now explore practical on-the-ground strategies and listen to real-life success stories that demonstrate the tangible benefits of sustainable business practices. Let us learn sustainability through the lens of a business owner. Our third speaker today is a co-owner of the Eco Store, Miss Jeannie Havelosa. She's right here. Hi, Miss Jeannie. Everybody clap for her. But before she joins us on stage, let me read her short profile. She is a thought leader for culture, sustainability, and gender. She is an awarded artist with 20 one-woman exhibits, a writer, awarded book author, and speaker. As an entrepreneur, she co-founded award-winning enterprises such as the Eon Group, Eco Store Sustainable Lifestyle, Great Women, and the Banahaw Circle Nature Retreat. Among her awards, this is a long list, she was Asia Pacific finalist to the 2012 Cartier Women's Initiative Award in Paris, 2018 Go Negosyo Outstanding Women's Entrepreneur Awardee, 2018 Outstanding ASEAN Women Entrepreneur Awardee from Bangkok. For Great Women, she won the 2020 United Nations WEP's Philippine Champion Awards for 2 categories and second runner-up in the Asia Pacific Regional Awards. She was a recipient of a French government grant for printmaking and art criticism in 1994, an ASEAN COCI study grantee for cultural arts management from Korea in 1995, an Australian government cultural travel grantee in 1997, a USDA travel and market study grant in 2009 and 10, and a 2018 ASEAN educational grant for cross-border trade from the National University of Singapore. Napagod ako. Binabasa lang ang awards niya. Ladies and gentlemen, ang dami niyang na-achieve, but she doesn't look the age or the part yet. She looks so young. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Miss Jeannie Havelosa.
You took up 5 minutes now of my time. I thought they were gonna just introduce you on one line. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation from the RCBC. You know, we're the small ones, right? We're the small business owners, and I would love to share our experiences because it shows you that small can be mean and small can change the world, right? If we do this together. Okay, here's my clicker. All right, so here we are. There's so many brand names there, but you know, it's all about what you are as a business owner, right? You can create many brands, you can do many businesses, you can be part of many advocacies, but it's about you as a business owner and what you believe when it comes to life, basically. So we put here good, green, and gender, and I say this because I work with a number of my business partners. It's not just myself, and it's all about integrating ecosystems, okay? So what we've done, especially when we started Eco Store, when nobody even knew what sustainability, that word was, clueless, lahat. Ano ba yung sustainability? We already said we wanted to create a sustainable lifestyle. And we did this now with all the brands that we worked with integrate supply chains of the community producers. And we want to make sure that every part of the supply chain has value, not just for us, but for the people that we work with every step along the way. Hindi lang naman profit lahat eh. Kaya ganito na yung ating mundo, no? Because it's all been money, money, money. we need to see deep inside, what are we about? And we are about the earth because we are made of the earth. No? So we want to look at this, that we are part of something bigger, a more holistic perspective, and that we also are working with other people, smaller ones who are part of our supply chain. So we started EcoStore in 2018, 15 years when everybody thought we were crazy. Sabi nila, wala, malulugi kayo in 1 year kasi green. Sabi namin, sige. Until now, even with the pandemic, we're still at it. But what is good is that green is mainstream. Noon kami lang ho yung unang retailer sa isang mall na green. And everybody thought we were crazy. But suddenly, they realized, ang gulo ng tatlong babae na to, maingay masyado because we wanted to tell everyone, you gotta go green. So that's what we did with EcoStore, and we've won a lot of brands awards for this. We were sent internationally. We've talked about this because we are small. We never wanted to become big because we who are the business owners, small though we are, lahat ho na ginagawa natin sa lahat ng touch point, importante ngayon dahil sa planetang namamatay na ho. Okay? We have to be aware. And so this is our role. EcoStore, eco, environment, community, hope/health ngayon, organization. May meaning ho yun. All about the sustainable lifestyle. Oops. So what we've done through the years was work with our communities creating green products. No matter ano kaliit yung grupo na gumagawa ng produktong green, we brought them into the store. And we began to align with bigger groups like companies. So ang RCBC ay buyer ho ng EcoStore ever since. And we're very happy with that, no? And so you want to be able in your own companies, give gifts from small groups that are green. Alam niyo, wag niyo ho kayo bumili ng mga China products, no? Nagkabaski mura. Think about it. Minsan, that's going to end up in the basurahan. I mean, we get upset when you have big events and then all of a sudden, bibigyan ka ng maliit na keychain, na lahat kayo ng keychain na ilang beses na kayo nabigyan ng keychain. What do you do with that, right? Think of our small producers. Think of the small handmade products. Kasi ito ay livelihood ng ating tao, no? So here we are, with all our products, mga kape, lahat na ho yan na communities, every product we put on our shelves, alam ho namin saan nanggaling. Kasi ho, tinulungan namin yon to value other products to get to the market. And it was all about looking at our complete supply chain that is green and that is also sustainable for our supply base. You have to look at your supply base. Kung may konting budget kayo, may choice kayo, magpapaprint kayo, paki-choose ang ho green printer, sana. It would be great if you chose a printing press owned by a woman because a lot of our women needs help and support in being able to grow their businesses. So we've gone into the food and making sure we value added the food. At alam nyo ngayon, hindi na ho kami special. Noon ho special kami kasi kami lang noon. Now everything is green and we know that is our goal. So we step back and we'll tell you what we happened during COVID, and basically our role has been two-pronged. We help the communities on the ground. We know exactly ho kung sinong gumawa ng kape na yan, sinong manang ang gumawa ng basket na yan, right? And every part of that is a personal touch. This is where we want to bring our world again, right? Sino ho tutulong sa inyo kung may tragedy? Yung mga kilala sa inyo, di ba? That is also being sustainable. Because at the end of it, when everything gets terrible with tragedies and typhoons and all these things, yung taong, ang kalooban ho ng tao ang lalabas. Hindi ho sa pera lahat yan. Ang kaloobang tao ang lalabas ho in times of crisis. So let's build that part of us also. So all of this was helping the people. When we were doing EcoStore, sabi nila, uy, ang daming mga kababaihan na kailangan tulong ng produkto sa market. Sabi namin, sandali, hindi green lahat eh. Kasi meron kang mga, you had everything from tocino, mga ganyan, di ba? Ang dami. Ang ating kababaihan, do so much work. Do you know that MSME, micro groups around the country, almost more than half are women, micro-entrepreneurs. And it's very challenging to be able to help them kasi iba ho yung issues ng kababaihan. Pag sila ay may children, right? We know this as men. So it's different. So what we did was the Great Women brand. Great means gender responsive economic action for the transformation of women. Was a brand platform that we started to be able to again integrate supply chains. Nag-focus ho kami dito after food on textile. Kagaya ho ng aking fashion ngayon. Ito ho ay gawa ng ating kababaihan. So this one now is all about helping women up the value chain and the men who support the women. Kailangan ho yung ating mga men ay nagsusuporta rin, no? So we started to be pushing to be able to see how can we now help in being able to bring women products and women's strength together. And we were brought all the way to ASEAN. So this is my other business partner, si Chitwan, and we were brought to ASEAN to look at it as a positioning for women. But this is basically what we've been doing. Supply chain integration. So when we begin with textiles, from the ground ho kami, all the way to the yarn facilities, looking for yarn for our weavers. We were working with 40 weaving communities all around the country. We had indigenous peoples with us. The textiles were value added, some in fashion, and then later sold. So full chain to market ho kami. And the e-commerce site was selling the products also. Under the food supply chain, we started from the farmers all the way to fresh produce in the eco market before we had an eco market. And then we began to value add the products kagaya ng ating mitawili sa mga isda na value add na ho yan, all the way the coffees into the food labs, packaged, trying as best as we can to use sustainable packaging materials and sold in the eco store. Okay. What happened naman? Okay, so this is an example of the to-market angle where we really wanted to do an international reach. And this is a perfect example where textiles from the women indigenous groups, all the way working with the French designer Christian Louboutin, we launched globally the Manila Kaba, internationally. And this is what we wanted to do talaga. And we were there, at it already to begin, bringing our weaving out of the country, And then, so this was the Manila Kaba, which we did with Christian Louboutin. He chose great women. We started a collection, and these are all from Panay, all over we have 40 weavers around the country. And then, pandemic. Wow. How can you reach your community? How can you reach your weavers, diba? Depressed. We were doing Zoom and trying to be able to work with the women, but I said I was going to stop Great Women already because it's too hectic. Yung retail was too hectic. And this was the result. We won. So parang sabi ko, sign ata to na we can't stop, right? So we want some more. So I said, obviously, this is a sign because we were really depressed. You're talking of losses and people and women with no livelihood. Talagang our hearts were breaking when they would call us. And we did a pivot. Okay, so we closed the retail store. EcoStore closed all retail stores except for the online now, and we have a little space in near across on Valero across Citibank, which is really pushing the retail side. We've even become even more niched with organic products. So we're aligned with Natural Land of Germany to help our farmers grow organic products, and the products is what we sell. Kasi ho, ang dami na ngang green stores. So okay na rin yan sa amin. Closed GW, the retail side, we brought all the products to Tesoros, and at this point, we did a pivot. Dahil nga, anong gagawin mo sa pandemic, di ba? At dun ho sa Mount Banahaw, dun ho ako napunta. Because meron kaming I have small places there. We shifted to a bed and breakfast to integrate the whole mountain, a fourth-class municipality. People very poor. And the rainforest is a protected sacred rainforest. So ang kultura doon, napaka-unique, parang Bali, napaka-unique. At ang daming tao na wala alam tungkol dito. But we said, let's do slow food. Let's integrate what's happening in the mountain and speak on behalf, again, of community and the planet. So here we have, again, we are integrating supply chains in the rainforest and poor farming communities, and we're looking to value add. We only opened it actually September. It's an old house of a healer, and we're beginning to value add what we're doing, and most of the people go there for healing, to do the tours that we've organized, which is the Pamumuesto. The food is all local. We help the women who have all their eggs and duck and the chickens. So we serve the food, help the farmers. So we're doing this in one space. And my other business partners doing in Cavite with Eco Farms. Okay, so we're kind of doing this still in the same rhythm. Now, we're not killing ourselves because we don't want to get stressed anymore. But as business owners, you sometimes have to really think, no? What am I doing my business for? Right? Parang at the end, kung all of the time you're stressed, that's also not sustainable. Isipan ho ninyo yan. How can you change the way you do work that will become more sustainable and more united with the people you are in a more relaxed environment and not kill for the profit all the time? Old style na ho yun eh. Talagang old style na. We need to collaborate together because our world is in crisis. We know this, okay? And so we need to change our ways. So here we offer team building in a traditional puesto way. And, it's a little space. We invite you all. All of you have team building there. We have facilitators in a more approach that is more holistic, sustainable, more traditional. This is a home of the healer, the first structure. We're doing and finishing a second structure, all with recycled materials. So it can be a showcase now of how can you beautifully design a place with recycled materials. Actually, yung aming basurero doon ay shock na shock. Pag ako yung pumupunta at bumibili, parang, Ma'am, ano hong gagawin nyo? Watch, secret. But it's all about art and design, di ba? So a lot of this is what we're doing now to pivot. And our food is like, we're looking at what's in the supply chain around the area. What can be value add? Our other business partner here in Banahaw is the owner of Bizu and Happy Garden, si Ani Tanco. So she's the chef. And she just fixes everything. Ang sarap ho. Naka-training na ho yung local community. So you need to see it holistic. Kung saan kayo may trabaho, yung mga tao ho ninyo yan, pwedeng i-train and you can lift them up to a totally different level. Okay, so here are just some ideas of sustainability from material, recycled items, and a part of us said, as much as we can, we do not buy. What can we recycle? What can we redefine, design, and reserve in a way, no, na iba? So these are what we're talking about. Small message. I mean, a main message is that small business owners, women micro-entrepreneurs, even those in the next level of business, each of us have a role depending on what you believe in. I know sometimes at the end, the numbers don't meet. Hindi natin kaya yan kasi mas mahal yung green product na yan versus, for example, yung mas murang galing China. I really have issues about this, okay? No, I mean, even doing events, can we stop the bottled water? Right? But we don't think eh. Ang bilis eh. O kasi ganitong budget natin, kunin natin ganyan. Just recycling. If we do not touch points, change our touch points, and look at it with awareness that we are advocates to keep our earth alive because she's dying and she's being raped. Truly. People will talk about it in a very theoretical perspective. We are on the ground with the planting and the farmers and the poverty that is there. We have to change our ways. So these are 3 brands, small ones like all of you. I mean, some of you might be big already, but I believe that small, little ones with a choice to make becomes a force when we all collaborate together. Pag hindi nyo alam, sino kaya pwede natin kunin magbigay ng ganitong produkto kasi kailangan ng product natin ng ang company, there is a whole network of people that live sustainably, choose sustainably. And seriously, I hope that this talk will make you choose to be as strong, as sustainable advocate as we who are in the green world are. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Miss Jeannie. Small can change the world. All right, at this point, we'd like to invite back everyone on stage. Ms. Jeannie, Arby, and Sir Mike, please join us back on stage for a quick discussion on some of the critical points you raised this afternoon. And of course, a Q&A portion with our participants. So I want to throw the first questions for the first round, then we'll entertain questions from the audience and from our Zoom participants. I want to start with Ms. Jeannie. You did say that green is mainstream. Sometimes it feels like green is expensive and it's mainstream for the haves, not for the have-nots. When do you think will the time come when the price and the demand will finally meet? When the aling puring in the next barangay can afford the sustainable product bought from a sari-sari store? Because I imagine that is the way to scale and to create lasting impact.
The small sari-sari store lady is just a recipient in some way, even if she does recycling. But because they're looking all the time at being able to put food in the table, that's not there. Those that have the power are the bigger ones. Those that can create real choices in the businesses that they do, right? I'm mainstream. Look at my outfit. Diba? Mainstream siya. Ito ay basura ho. Ito ay kukwan. So what I'm trying to say is, this will not happen unless a crisis happens. That's the problem. Do we want to wait for crisis for this to shift? That's why we go out doing all these things. We've been doing this 15 years, but look what we've done in 15 years. I think we managed to bring it to mainstream discussion, mainstream fashion. It's already there. But how can the C and D market look at this? Is that even just recycling, if they can even have that awareness of recycling, it begins something. So unfortunately, I think it's going to have to be a crisis for people to shift. My message is, let's not wait for the crisis. Let's make it a choice. So it's kind of tough to say when.
Will they be able to eventually afford?
The affordability is going to be, at the end, what will they need, right? At the end. This is a big issue. It's so social. It's too big an issue to address. It's a global issue, actually, because you do have a lot of greener initiatives now going mainstream, and yet the poverty angle is going to make people just want to feed themselves with cheap, bad food, rather than choose a good sinigang, which they can grow behind their homes, right? So there's all these issues you have to look at. So the answer to that is very hard to give. I cannot give you an answer.
All right, Sir Mike, the Philippine economy is known as a sachet economy because we live on sachets. That's what many of our kababayans can afford. Toyo, suka, shampoo. And what is in the sachet foils? Plastic. So how does this, from the economic standpoint, inflation is high. Yes, inflation is easing, but with easing inflation, it means prices continue to go up, just not as fast. But I mean, how can, the ordinary Filipino think about this when we're all in the sachet mentality?
True, Mimi. Hello? Yeah, so it's the Philippines is one of the biggest contributors to pollutions in the oceans. As a result of that sachet economy, it's a sad reality. Actually, that's a challenge for not just fast-moving consumer goods companies, both local and foreign, are actually, of course, guilty of that. And would we wait until it's too late that it becomes already unsustainable when it comes to the fish catch, and there would be contents that's harmful to the health, and of course our waterways. And although we have seen some improvements, but now that's really a big challenge because of the cost. You cannot blame poor people if that's what they can afford. That's the business model for the sachet economy. That's what they can afford. Tingi-tingi na mura, no, abot kaya, no. But of course that has to change. It has to evolve in a positive manner, no. Lalo na if the cost would be lowered, if there would be more innovative packaging technologies to be used, no? Say mas biodegradable yung plastics na mas friendly sa environment, No? But of course, it's a long way to go. It's still expensive. No? So it would need the technology, the scale, and of course, the determination of the businesses, both local and foreign, to really work on this. Otherwise, it would be too late. How many years would this sachet plastic packaging, how long would they last in the waterways and being ingested and included in the food supply? So yeah, going forward, it's really technology that would determine, and the determination also to adapt this technology, especially if eventually the cost of doing so would be reduced. We have seen that in renewable power. It was very expensive 5, 10, or 20 years ago, but look at it now. It has evolved. Look at even kahit ano other areas of sustainability na medyo successful yung on a global perspective, yung mga CFC, yung mga CFT, yung mga ngayon yung ozone layer. So at least may improvement na. Alam, ando pa rin yung global warming, no? Pero may kaya naman kung nandoon yung determination. Dati ang fear, butas na yung ozone layer, it may cause skin cancer in some parts of the world, but now nag-improve na. There was some healing on the earth already because of those initiatives, yung mga CFCs na control na.
So it will take time, it will take commitment from the companies themselves to empower and enable the ordinary Filipino to get on the sustainability bandwagon as well. I would like to share, I actually know a friend personally. They're one of the 2 biggest manufacturers of foil pouch. And he was saying they produce every month they produce enough foil pouches to circle the earth 5 times. That's every month, and they're just one player. And sa mga foil na yon, there's plastic. Sometimes multi-layers pa para hindi permeable, para the food becomes fresh, ganyan. RB, I want to ask you this question naman. How do you make sure that the product is as green as it claims to be? Because there's always suspicion, greenwashing. I want to give one example. A manufacturer of packaging here in the Philippines wants to service a client from Europe. European companies will require all manufacturers of packaging to use paper that is only FSC certified, Forest Stewardship Council certified, which means yung paper na ginamit are coming or grown from 2nd-generation forest, mga ganon. We don't have that here. Even if we have recycled paper here, we're not certified. So if that company here wants to service the European brand, they have to import the paper. So yes, when the paper gets here, the paper is green, but just imagine how much emission was made transporting the paper here. So parang sometimes it's a tricky way to compute whether a product is truly green.
Yeah, that's true. Greenwashing is real, and even for big companies. Right now, we have for big corporations, especially those who are reporting on their sustainability efforts and initiatives, and many of them are also listed in our Philippine Stock Exchange. Our Securities and Exchange Commission has already mandated all listed companies to report on sustainability. However, that initial requirement is using the comply or explain approach. Meaning, okay, if you don't comply with certain criteria, you just have to explain why you're not able to comply, and report on how do you plan to adopt the recommendation. I think when ICD started advocating corporate governance way back in the turn of the millennium, because after the Asian financial crisis, it has been an uphill climb, and what we have observed is that many of our companies are really compliance driven, meaning if walang issue once or walang regulation, they will not adopt. So that is why our SEC, nag-start na sila by requiring muna to report on sustainability. I understand. I had a meeting with the SEC Chairman Aquino last week, and he shared with us that their direction is really to tighten, no, to tighten further that guidelines on sustainability reporting. Now, for the reporters, no, the reporters, those organizations that are already reporting, okay, the recommendation, even from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, is to have an external assurance of these reports. An independent party, will look at your report, and validate whatever you've written there. So that's how we are seeing it.
All right. Just want to get a pulse check here from our participants. If we could see a raise of hands, please raise your hand if you or your organization have a deliberate effort to go sustainable, sustainability initiatives. Please raise your hand if you or your company meron ng ganyan. Sustainability initiatives that you're aware of. Wow. I will cry. All right. So it's kulang pa. The awareness is kulang pa. So RB, I ask you, number one, SEC is going to require companies to do sustainability reporting. Will this include all companies or just listed companies at the stock exchange?
Yeah, at the moment, only listed companies. Okay, but as GS mentioned earlier, the supply chain of these companies, will have to adhere also, to sustainable practices. So,
Matagal yan.
pero tama, it will take really long time.
So for now, it's listed companies. But for the SMEs, entrepreneurs with us today, if they want to get certified, are there bodies or groups here where they can actually get audited and get that certificate na we're sustainable, we're green, so we can service maybe mga maselan na clients from abroad, mga foreigners usually? Meron bang ganon?
I'm not aware of,
The challenge when you go to export in Europe, especially Germany, those places, Europe and certain areas in the US, the certification you have to get is terrible. That's why we did not go that way. Because ubus na ho kayo sa certification lang. Wala na, okay? So here's my other left field call. There is a market in ASEAN which is 600 million people. Have we even looked at this? Everybody's Europe, everybody's the US, the old world's dying. Have we not begun to look at developing a 600 million market in ASEAN? We should. Actually, I really want to put it here. I want to cry that there's nobody even thinking sustainability.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's why
Not
this
yet.
is so good. The topic should all just be sustainability for the next year. Because until people understand how bad it is, you're eating the plastic of the fish that was sold to you in in those sachets. The guy making the foil, maybe he knows deep in his heart that he's ravaging the earth, but he needs that money. But then maybe rethink. There are new packaging processes that use potatoes, cassava. Indonesia has it. They have somebody here in doing algae that is also looking at packaging. But are they getting the investments? They're small investors. These are small people. So again, we can't even wait for government, right? Because it's not going to happen. I'm telling you now, we need political will. It's not going to happen. So if we're not going to do this by ourselves, sorry, I'm telling you, you're going to end up eating plastic fish. Actually, you're already eating plastic fish.
I think we also have to educate the consumers, because once they demand sustainable products, the corporations and the businesses will have to adopt. In the same way, we're also advocating with the investors, to use ESG metrics, in their investment decisions, so that the listed companies will have to adopt sustainable practices. Kasi kailangan holistic approach, system approach. Hindi pwede kasi na yung business lang, di ba? In fact, three-pronged approach nga yun. The government has a role, and then the financial intermediaries have roles, and then the corporations. But yun nga, the buy side has to come in. They have the power. They have to demand. Oo.
Sir Mike, I want to ask you, because you monitor the stock market closely as well. There are over 200 listed companies. Can you give us concrete examples of companies who have financially, nakita na sa bottom line, sa income statement, the impact of going sustainable, of ESG?
Well, syempre, we go straight to the sources of energy. Like, yeah, for instance, if we see the performance in terms of stock price, kung kikita talaga yung investors na todo-todo, yung sobrang daming kita. I'm talking about multi-year, no? Lalo na ngayon, medyo mahal na. Well, one company, ASEN. Dating ano yan, Pinma Power. Ang baba pa ng presyo noon, tapos nag-transition sila sa renewable power. Hanggang ngayon, in-accelerate. So, the markets really rewarded the shareholders and the investors but with a sharp increase in the share price. Although ngayon, in recent years, hindi na masyado kasi the prices have, the price has gone up really a lot. So, nagko-correct na. So, doon kitang-kita na...
But Sir Mike, for those who follow the stock market, they'd say, okay, ASEN price appreciated substantially in the last couple of years. But sino nagbigay ng malaking dividend? It's Semirara, coal.
Yeah, exactly, Mimi.
So, paano yun? What gives?
Well, siguro ano na rin yun eh. May trade-offs eh. Kasi...
Yun, it's the trade-offs.
Yeah, kasi yung mga renewable power, malakas pa yung ano niyan, yung requirements for investments, yung investments marami pa. Kaya nga yung financing nila left and right eh, sa capital markets, sa loans, ang dami nilang borrowings ngayon to really expand. So it's really reinvesting rather than giving dividends. Samantalang, yeah, of course, yung mga medyo mature na businesses na, they're already more generous kasi ano na eh, like ngayon parang it's really transitioning away from coal. So parang yeah, but it's profitable kasi it's relatively cheap, no? Parang ngayon yung dilemma kasi it's mura.
It's
Mura
always
kasi.
the price. The
Yeah.
price is always the issue. So Sir Mike, are you saying you have to look further? Don't just look at today. You have to invest, look at the future. Baka yung mga ini-invest ngayon are stranded na. That's what they're saying, di ba? The coal companies are eventually going to be stranded investments. Is that the case, you think?
Kasi may ano na eh. If you look at the ecosystem sa sustainability, if you look at the whole world, maybe for the past 3 to 5 years, yung mga banko globally, the banks, they already stopped lending to coal-related energy, coal-fired power plants.
That's one
They
way.
stopped. So yung
Cut
financing...
the lifeline, financing.
kaya ano na, talagang papunta na doon. It's really a matter of time. Pati sa, nire-require na rin kasi ng global regulators, even prior to the pandemic, ini-encourage na mag-adhere, mag-i-invest yung mga global, yung mga fund managers, kahit mapa-retail or institutional investors, kasama sa criteria nila, yung ESG. Kumbaga, may premium tuloy. Kasi nire-require ng regulators na rin. So, highly encouraged and globally, yung mga professional fund managers, we're talking about, kasi that's part of social responsibility. Ang ESG kasi, hindi lang yan, isa lang yun dun sa ESG, yung sustainable, yung yung di ba, environment, society, governance. Magkakasama na yun, it's a whole package. Hindi lang sa environment, governance kasama. Napaka-importante ng governance. Pati yung impact to society. No? Human rights. Nandun lahat yun. Kung may kulang doon, hindi buo yung ESG standards. Kaya yung flow ng yung ecosystem, yung funding from the banks, yung funding, of course, alternative to the banks, yung capital markets, pension funds yan, professionally run around the world, mga sovereign wealth funds, iba-ibang professional fund managers, they would always require that before they put in their money. And pati yung advocacies, we will only, kumbaga, bibilin lang yung mga produkto pag nagko-comply do sa ESG standards. So may pressure na, papunta na do sa ecosystem, doon na papunta talaga yung direction global.
All right, all right. I think we are ready to take questions from the floor. Yes, sir. Can we get your name and what's the question?
First, let me introduce myself. I'm Mr. Benedicto Pelin, Chairman and President of BPL Group of Companies. And I would like to address my question to Mr. Ricafort. And finally, you gave us a chance to ask questions. I think you're having a monopoly asking all the questions. My question is, you presented a very nice figures about GDP, talk about inflation at 7.6%, you talk about T6, 7.7 plus projection. My question is, what scenario or case you see that will prevent us from achieving all those nice figures that you mentioned?
Very good question, sir. Thank you for bringing that one up. Kasi
Meron pa akong follow-up doon, no? I just want to hear your answer, no? Because are we going to be affected what's happening in US? Like in subprime in 2008, it was a global problem and our country was affected and a lot of company closed shop. And right now, United States experiencing recession, especially the real estate market. In some state, it's already down by 10, some it's 15. The interest right now is more than 6%. And the vacancies is about 3 to 5%. And they're just starting. We don't know. I don't know, FedEx, are they going to increase again by 50 basis points? We don't know. Are we going to be affected? Or what are scenario or case you think that will stop us or prevent us from achieving those nice figures that you presented?
All right.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Actually, because of interest of time, hindi na ako nanakot. Ngayon, hindi naman ako nananakot ako, pero at least tama yun, sir. Kailangan balansyado yung view. We need to acknowledge the risk factors. Although, kasi syempre, umakyat na po yung inflation since last year. Nagtaas na yung Fed ng 525 basis points from the record low of 5.25 na po ngayon, no? Actually, 500 basis points. Ang BSP, nagtaas na rin ng interest rates from 2 o 6.25, 4.25. Naging mahal na. Kasi ng pandemic, that's the lifetime lows. No? Kaya yun parang gusto ko na rin share sa inyo yun. Record, that's the lowest in our lifetime for interest rates. So, pikit mata, we can borrow aggressively. Naman kasing gusto mangyari ng central banks during the pandemic to stimulate the economy. Ngayon, nagka-inflation, na-stoke ng inflation dahil sa gera since last year. Ayun yung nag-chain reaction na eh. Plus yung supply chains din nagka-challenge since the pandemic, pati weather-related and so on and so forth. So, mataas yung interest rates. Ang tanong, tapos na ba yung Fed? Baka hindi pa. Opo, tama po yun. Pause. June, pause. Ang suportado na po ng ibang Fed officials, at least for the past month, nagsimula na sila. What? Sorry? Yes. Actually, tama po yun. Sabi ng si Neil Kashkari sa Minneapolis Fed, yun ang sabi niya. Hindi assurance na magpo-pause kami, hindi ko magpo-pause kami, tapos na, baka mag-hike pa kami kung kakailanganin. Bakit nila ginagawa yun? Ito na po yung contingency, yung mga risk. Kasi hindi pa talaga tapos yung boxing when it comes to managing inflation. Hindi pa. Yung sinabi ko kanina, kung hinayaan nila yan, mag-i-spiral yan, akit yan ng akit. Mabuti na lang yung inflation data po, pababa. Yung headline inflation sa US, 4.9%. That's the lowest in 2 years. Good thing. It came from 9.1% on June of last year. Ang target ng Fed is 2%. So, bago magka-banking crisis, talakayin natin yun shortly, nababagalan po sila. Kailangan lang mas marami pang rate hike to nip the problem at the bud, to prevent the mistakes of what happened in the early 80s, late 70s, panahon ni Reagan, with Paul Volcker, yung former Fed chair, predecessor ni Alan Greenspan. Double digit ang Fed rates. Ngayon, 5.25. Ang panahon lahat, more than 10%. Ang treasury yield, more than 10%. Ngayon, ang treasury yield nasa 3.74. So, ano nangyari noon? Ang dami nag-default around the world. Yung mga mahihina na sovereign. Ngayon nga lang, hindi pa nga ganun kataas. Galing sa record low, nagkakaproblema na yung ibang sovereign like Sri Lanka. Pag umakyat pa yan, at some point nga yung Pilipinas, di ba? Noon, briefly, nagka-problema rin on those things related to those in 1984 towards the mid-80s. So, iniingatan yon. Huwag nang mangyari yon. Ayun yung isang risk scenario na kailangan, kumbaga, tentative pa yung Fed, hindi pa tapos, kailangan restrictive pa. So baka, sabi nga ng...
Monitor pa nila eh.
Talagang, kasi nandoon pa rin yung risk of recession hanggat mataas yung interest rates. Kasi nakamba pa rin talaga yung risk of recession. Well, in terms of supply chains, no? Kaya mapa locally and even in the US and globally. Kaya ano pa rin po, nandoon pa rin po yung yung restrictive na monetary policy. Kasi nagtatrabaho po sila para siguraduhin hindi lumipad yung inflation at hindi lumipad yung interest rates, mapa short term and bond yields. Kasi masusunog yung investments. Yung borrowers, may mga magdi-default, yung mga distressed na borrowers na magkakaproblema. And locally, it's really the supply chains. No? Kaya nga, nandoon po yung non-monetary measures. Kasi ano po yan hindi po talaga pwedeng mawala muna outright yung importation. So, tatimingan na lang pagka manipis yung pagka hindi pa anihan para hindi rin mag-compete sa farmers. Pero yung po talaga yung, acknowledge naman po ng economic team yun, alam naman po nila talaga yung gagawin nila. It's really moving towards self-sufficiency na nagawa naman po ng neighboring countries. Kasi rice is 10% of the inflation basket, no? Inflation index. Kaya umakyat na po yung bigas Kasi it may partly have to do with the higher world prices din po. No? Dahil nagbukas yung China, may drought din, hindi lang po dito. Kahit sa bandang Mekong area, may taginit sa buong rehiyon Sa ASEAN, sa Mekong, yun yung kaya mas po talaga yung presyo. On top do sa pass-on cost dahil tumas yung price ng inputs. Kaya yung sustainable solution po talaga, yung towards self-sufficiency, parang ginawa po ng mga kapitbahay natin.
We have more questions. Let's start with this. Will there be government aid to further encourage recycling? Meron na ba?
Actually, there's none. Okay, so over the weekend, we were this one guy who is recycling all the plastics with a business model of $500,000 to get the machines. He buys 15 pesos per sako ng plastic, no? And he recycles. You can look at it in my page. I talked about it. And he's making lumber. And you have to give it to him. He's trying so hard, so hard. But again, push comes to shove. Ang cost niyan, depende kasi mas mahal siya versus natural lumber, di ba? But when you look at that direction, there's none of anything where government will is even attempting to go green. I'm sorry, I've been in the scene for so long. Korea had started a green program almost 15 years ago. Okay, they started it, it's strong and steady. Singapore has always had that program, but there's no political will. That's why I'm saying the voices of us in the green field is noisy, because that's the only thing we can do, make noise. Okay, so in an attempt to be able to go that direction, there are sustainability committees in the Congress, right? There's in the Senate, who's the one, I think Senator Legarda was leading a part of it. But you see, on the ground, all the way to the ground, you need an understanding of what is sustainability. Kaya itong RCBC na series is very good. Because you might actually want to launch, RCBC launch, how to green your company. How to begin going green or sustainable, right? Because at the end, we cannot wait for government. It's not going to happen. It's going to be, nagkakagulo na nga lahat So we have to begin doing it ourselves. So there's none. To answer your question, there's nobody to help recycling, nothing. I was sitting with the DTI's micro MSME Bureau of Small, Medium and Council, no?
Yes.
For almost 8 years, okay? And the programs that they have done steadily, as government can only do that,
Yes.
is to create the Go Negosyo, the negosyo centers all around the country. Then they had the Go Negosyo directions of mentoring. Whether that really has effect, I cannot say, okay? However, in anything with regards financing of the small and micro, the DTI and even the DA has been putting out little loans, but it's not, again, in a strategic way of sustainability. It is just for better crop, whatever, it's too small. They're not seeing it holistically. So you're asking whether there are financing directions from government. Not really also.
No, from the private sector.
Oh, from the private sector. There are certain companies that support smaller groups as part of their chain. Kaya importante yung yung supply chain ay magiging value each part of that step. It's really at the end a circular economy, as sabi ni Juan RB. Circular economy where each part is supported. We go and make effort to work with big companies so that we can feed the supply chain, but that's because we make effort, right? We really go out of our way to make sure that there are funds that go all the way in development and in the profit part of our business.
How
all
do you
the way.
motivate the other private sectors to participate? Do you have any?
Oh, we're everywhere talking. We try so hard. It's an advocacy that has been a lifetime choice for us. Because at the end, as I said earlier, kung each of us cannot take this on, your company will not become sustainable. Kung ikaw mismo, you don't think, buy na ng plastic bottle water, when you can buy a thermos and make effort. That's a small thing. It's small. May event kayo na green. May green event ba? I get hyper when I see a plastic straw. But there are cafes that are changing paper straws, small things. Because all of this, we cannot wait for government. We just get frustrated. Kami, we're frustrated now, so we do our thing. As I said, unless you each know in your heart whether you want to help this world, because you will not be helped. There is a development side of a lot of teaching and a lot of learning that these people have to do as you push them up the market direction or business. Yes. I hear you. It's very valid, sir. It's very valid.
All right. We have one more question, either for Ms. Jeannie or RB. Do you have data to show how long before our country reaches at least 50% sustainable?
There's no data because I'm telling you, nobody is doing it.
Nobody's even measuring.
So small, no one is measuring it. It's so little that we do. We're so, when you think about the green group around the country, I mean, there are a lot of businesses that they want to become green, but where's the will? That's what I'm saying. So we cannot even give that. And we've been here 15 years for EcoStora. We've been the noisiest. We're the only ones screaming it out like we're crazy. But globally already, we're seeing the effects of what small groups can do together. It's not strong enough here. We're not there. We can't even say 50% in the next 2 years. I'm telling you, a crisis has to happen. And that's why I'm going to address the fact that if war happens in our space, because we are the strategic position between the big players here, that's going to mess up a lot of our businesses.
But there is a goal, diba? Parang the Philippine government plans to cut emissions by 70% by year, like that. And
Yeah,
you've
that's
got
paperwork report.
companies.
So I want to see the actual thing.
The actual
The actual
measurement.
thing, because there's none in the ground.
All right.
Paperwork.
All
Talk,
right.
talk, talk.
All right. Who else has a question? Okay, I think we are good. Final question from me for all of our speakers here. If our participants walk away with one thing from today's speaking engagement, what is it that you hope they walk away with? What is the call to action? Just one line, no need to explain, just to close. Maybe we start with Sir Mike, RB, and then Jeannie.
It's a responsible investing and overall doing business through sustainability, because it's really the way to go. No,
Okay.
it's inevitable.
All right.
That's where the world is going, where the regulators are growing, and the advocacies and the patronage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Responsible investing. RB?
Think globally, act locally.
All right. And Jeannie?
Magbalik loob kayo and see deep inside. No, serious. Deep inside, where do I stand in my value system with regards to the good I can do for our planet today? Ikaw lang ho. Kayo lang. Kasi from you, balik loob ho. Kasi from you, everything changes because you each have the power to do that.
All right. So where do you stand? Something to ask yourselves. All right. That ends our exciting conversation this afternoon. The potential for SMEs to be catalysts for sustainability is immense. I think that we all recognize. By embracing this opportunity, we don't only enhance our business's long-term resilience, but also contribute to the well-being of our communities, the preservation of the environment, and the creation of a better world for our future generations. And by working together, we can multiply our efforts, amplify the impact, and create a ripple effect that extends far beyond the confines of this forum. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in this critical endeavor. And we challenge you, yes, all of you, to rise to the occasion, embrace sustainability as a business imperative, and help build a prosperous and sustainable future for SMEs and beyond. Once again, this has been Mi Myung. Thank you so much for joining us.